Grim Dawn patch 1.2, which is currently in playtesting. This is the second iteration of this build, or like of this version 1.2, which finally I feel like has almost all the features that it should have by release as well. And now it's just about them balancing and getting the stuff right. So patch 1.2 is basically the first big patch that is being made by Create in preparation for the Fangs of Astakarn expansion. The Fangs of Astakarn expansion hitting at some point next year, probably right towards the end of next year, I would assume. And this patch hitting at some point this year, probably I would assume late October maybe, something like that. So let's just start reading the patch first, and then we can check out the patch a bit in-game as well. So, first of all, first feature is you can now play the entirety of the game up to the level cap of the difficulty, on the difficulty that's enjoyable to you. To support this, level scaling has been updated on normal and elite difficulty. Many areas on normal now scale up to 100. Elite difficulty scales up to 100 in all areas. This change is debatable. How much it really does is also debatable. In my opinion, this is not as impactful as people think, as long as they are still skill point and attribute point quests in normal and elite, and as long as the loot still scales higher into elite and ultimate, which it should. It doesn't really make sense to like hit level 100 in normal or elite unless you really don't care about loot and you don't want to play this genre as people usually play this genre. So yeah, kind of whatever change in a way, but still I think better than before, because some areas really didn't scale that high. I mean, on the other hand, this might piss off people that hate scaling in ARPGs, so yeah, double-edged sword in my opinion, but ultimately, to me personally, it doesn't matter at all really. All loot tables have been overhauled with 30 to 60% less items dropping. To compensate, loot quality and iron bits drop rates have been significantly increased. In my opinion, one of, if not the best change in this entire patch. People have, especially people that don't usually play Grim Dawn, have been saying that Grim Dawn drops loot like crazy left, right, top and center. And this is cutting down on all the like clutter loot that is dropping all the time. Less items dropping, but well, loot quality means better affixes on average, like higher chance to get rare affixes and so on. So overall, I think, in my opinion, very good change. The loot clutter has gotten a little bit out of hand, and this is counteracting that a little bit. Very nice, in my opinion. But then again, also like a nightmare for modders that also have to like adjust their loot tables to this change, but we will manage. All bosses now have a 100% chance to drop their non-legendary monster frequency. Obviously, people that like getting free drops are gonna like this.
Good, you're back.
Morning Rectos. Looking through the patch notes.
Yeah, Teferi, thanks for the resub. Of course, like as I said, like people that like free loot are gonna love this change, in my opinion. Actually, most of the boss drop chances were balanced around also the time that you have to get to the mob from like the closest rift gate, and also like the time that it needs you to kill the boss, and also like the difficulty to kill that boss. Now with all of that being equalized, I feel like the balance is a little bit off there, but overall I guess okay change, but also I think it was not really necessary. Maybe like a small buff to something like Golos is nice, of course, but whatever. You guys can enjoy more loot, so I guess I should be happy for you guys. A new base evade skill has been added, so we have like a dodge roll, or rather, I mean, it's not a dodge roll, it's more like a, currently it looks more like a Mario jump, or like a hurdling jump. Not sure if they're gonna change or adjust the animation in the future. I think they need to. It looks a little scuffed right now. Functionality wise though, it actually doesn't feel that bad. I've been playing a little bit around with it yesterday night, and it takes some getting used to, and I think it can, or like should get a little bit more polish until this patch actually gets released. But until then, I don't think it's as bad as some people say, but it definitely needs work. Like, it's a work in progress right now. The idea with evade skills in Grim Dawn, or like Or you could argue, why does Grimdawn even need an evade skill in the first place? Yeah, that's debatable. But with mechanics like Arcane and Sunder and so on, the evade can be pretty nice. There aren't that many use cases, I feel like, right now, yet. But maybe in the future we're gonna get some more. Maybe they're gonna like rework some of the bosses a little bit to make you feel like you have better opportunities to actually use evade. I mean, the cool thing about this is it actually has iframes. So unlike Virus Might, where you, while charging, can still get hit, this one actually has iframes. So it's kind of like Grim Souls in a way, but yeah. It's a little weird at this point, but if they continue to polish this ability itself and also to like change the game a little bit around this ability, then I think it can be nice to play around with. Show the video? Yeah, I guess we show the video. The animation is very debatable. What do you think, guys? It is certainly debatable. I'll tell you, like, it feels better to play actually than it looks like, but it looks a little bit ridiculous, yeah. Like, I don't know what it is, but like, it just feels so off compared to the other animations in Grimdawn. I think animations in Grimdawn generally are really well made, but like, that one is just... it doesn't fit that well right now. Anyway, yeah. Why did they have to add the sound effect? I mean, that sound effect is made by the video. It's not like the actual sound effect. But the sound effect in-game is also like a little bit off-putting. I feel like they should maybe like also polish the sound effect as well. They could have also just like reused the Virus Might effect, I guess, yeah. The thing is, I guess they wanted to like visualize the skill having like iframes and like making it distinct from something like Virus Might, which doesn't have iframes. So they could have also used a jump animation from the rune, maybe. It could be like some kind of like leap. It could also be honestly like a dodge roll. Like in my opinion, they could also I mean, these are supposed to be evade abilities that you can then later in Fangs of Aztekar also basically modify with like modifiers from stuff that you can get in Fangs of Aztekar. And in my opinion, they could, to distinguish it better from moved abilities like the jump and the virus spread and so on, they could have actually made it slower, but like the animation a bit longer with longer iframes, so that you don't use it all the time for like running around as well. If anything, it would make a great animation for a League secret level. I guess, yeah. I mean, either way, I think we're gonna have lots of fun with the skill, whether it's the base game or via mods. It's gonna be new content, new tech in a way, and that's gonna be pretty exciting. And anyway, let's just move on. Potions have been removed from the game. This is another feature, so there's no more like health and energy potions that you can buy or find or store in your inventory. You just have a potion skill as a baseline skill, like one for health pot, one for energy pot. And with Fangs of Aztekar, you're gonna also be able to, well, adjust those and like craft on those and probably like get some effects on them and so on and so on. In my opinion, also like pretty nice quality of life change. Getting potions was never really like a challenge or a problem, except for maybe like on certain challenge runs during the first couple of levels. At that point it was actually kind of interesting, the potion game, but after that it was literally like a non-factor, and so overall I can understand them just removing this and like making it like a separate baseline skill instead. Test the iframes, please. I'll start a playthrough today, a proper one. I did a small like Act 1 to 3 test run yesterday, and for example you can very nicely actually like iframe dodge the Creek Stomp, for example. That's pretty cool. But honestly, apart from Warden Creek and on Voldrak, I just used it randomly and I feel like didn't use it as intended. But yeah, toggled buff effects are now automatically toggled on and no longer need to be on the skill bar. So no longer do you need to reactivate all your buffs every time you log into the game, and also no longer do you need to reactivate all of your buffs whenever you get arcaned, but more on that later. So in my opinion, also one of the best changes, quality of life changes in this patch. Just amazing. I don't know why anybody would hate on this. I've seen people disliking this, and I have literally no clue how you can ever be able to dislike this. It makes no sense to me whatsoever in any way on any world. I can see hating, like people hating evadability, or like people hating some other changes like this one maybe, but I cannot fathom anybody like hating on this. But there are people that dislike this for some reason. I don't know. They just dislike change, I guess. Yeah. Thank God. Yeah, I know, right? It's amazing. Like, for example, if you equip a cold stone, you instantly get the buff. You don't have to, like, you know, put it on your bar, press it, and forget about it, or like, yeah, not even press on it in the first place because I forget about it as well. You can now disable visuals for toggle buff in the game options to improve visual clarity on your character and to show off all that gear. This is also a great change in my opinion. Yeah, for obvious reasons. I don't think we need to explain this one further. It's an option, and it's nice. New visuals have been added to alert you to legendary, monster frequent, double rare, and double rare monster frequent drops. So you have like a small, tiny loot beam. It's not too immersion breaking in my opinion. It fits like Grim Dawn style very well. It's not as big as like Diablo 3 or something like that. It's nice and subtle. I think it works very well in this game. Monster frequents are now marked by an icon to separate them from the rare items. Honestly, I think personally the icon looks a little weird, but it's good that they are adding any kind of separation to monster frequents. Now people that are new to the game will understand that these are special different items. The problem is when you have the item in your inventory, you don't see that icon. So I don't know why they didn't try to go for something that you see both on the ground as well as in your inventory. That is, in my opinion, just superior, and they should try to focus on that instead. They could just give monster frequency a different color, for example, like in Titan Quest. I don't know why they're not doing this, but it's at least a step in the right direction. Monster frequency, yeah, true. Hello, still playing this dead game, Yo McMac. I saw you and Ellie a lot. I don't know, I think Grim Dawn still has more players than Ellie, actually. So I don't know. I don't know about that game. It's pretty much alive, more alive than ever. Monster health bar options have been improved. You can now toggle thicker health bars and display percent values for monster health. Yeah, Grim Eternal's enjoyers with like bigger health bars can like this one, of course, right? I think bigger health bars look a bit cringe, but the bigger health bars that are officially made here at least look better than the ones from Grim Eternals, so that's cool. It helps people that have problems with looking at health bars, I guess, the default ones. So it's nice, it's a nice change for sure, it's for sure a very, very nice change. Next one, the notification mechanic has been overhauled. It now purges all temporary buffs and disables toggle buffs for 5 seconds. So yeah, instead of removing all buffs and you having to like reactivate all your buffs, it just disables your buffs for 5 seconds. And also these monsters have like a big icon on them now, so you can like spot them way easier. In my opinion, I think it's great that they're still keeping the mechanic, but in a way healthier way than before. So overall, amazing change. Everybody who hated on arcanes before is probably gonna still hate on arcanes, but at least they don't have to like, you know, fumble through your skill bars to turn back auras. So that's also a very, very nice change here. I'm joking, can't wait for Frank's Asticon like anybody here. Good to hear that, man. I mean, there's some like mixed bag stuff in here, in my opinion, but overall it's going in an amazing direction, and we're getting new content, new adjustments for a otherwise rather, I mean, I wouldn't say dead game, but a dated game in some ways. So it's amazing that we get new features, and the game is still great, and it's getting better with this once they fix like some things that are a little bit clunky right now. New accessibility feature, disable day-night cycle. By enabling this, the game will be perpetually set to noon. This is a good feature, however, I heavily need to still bother them to finally add a option to put it on midnight as well. especially for modding reasons. That is kind of mandatory to have, because you want to test like night effects, glows and so on, like effects at night. And with Grim Eternals you were able to do that. Currently you can't. So this is an incomplete feature in my opinion. It should also be able, like, you should also be able to set the game on midnight, not only on to noon. Disable fog. Yes, everybody who hates fog or who has fog lagging out their PC can now just disable fog. That is also an amazing feature. I actually kind of like the fog, how it's made in Grim Dawn. I would not disable it, but if you have like performance issues and or you hate the fog in this game, you can now disable it. That is, I mean, more options, the more amazing it is, right? Cooldown counters enable to see a numeric cooldown on your skills on the quick bar. So whenever you use a skill and you press the skill and then, you know, it's gonna like have a cooldown counting down, and that is pretty cool as well. There's actually one thing that I need to change here. There was a... Like, if you're using the rainbow filter mod in quotation marks, like the txt file, right? Then you have to actually change something here to not get like tag not found stuff. And then also last but not least, auto pickup radius can now be increased or reduced from its default setting.
Nice.
Yo GG, thanks for the resub. Welcome back, welcome back. 48 months of being a bloom already, holy moly. That is literally 4 entire years. Thank you so much for the resub. Much appreciated. I know this is a feature that has been added because of Grim Eternals as well. And I am honestly a little bit on the mixed bag of side of things with this one as well. Because why the fuck is there a slider? Like, there's a slider in game. Why would you put it on anything but the max? Is it just to hurt yourself? Like, do you like self-harm? What? On the other hand, the max radius is so big, it feels like absolute cheating. I think it's even bigger than it was in Grim Eternals. So, I don't know. In my opinion, they should have just not have this be a feature and just like increase the base auto pickup radius a bit to match maybe like Grim Eternals old radius, because I think the new max is actually bigger than Grim Eternals radius, and it feels like cheating. But if you're playing anything else but that, you're like literally just trolling. So I don't know, makes weird. That's so weird. This is still playtest. Laxen, welcome in. Yo, Rody, thanks for the raid. Welcome in. Appreciate it. This is just the... Well, there was a new update for this playtest. It's still a playtest. But I'll still like continue a playthrough on this playtest. I like start a new playthrough on this playtest actually. Because I think now it's finally in a like state where more or less all the features are in there. Maybe not quite all of them, but I think most that matter. And most that are gonna be like game-changing compared to 1.1.9.8. Shadow Realm has a new waystone, right? For shard, like up to shard 90 you can get rewards now. So for 80, 85 and 90 you have a new new checkpoints for which you could use the Eternal Waystone. So I guess people are gonna run like 90 to 91 now instead of 75 to 76 to like show off their builds in softcore at least. How efficient that's really gonna be for farming compared to 75 to 76, I don't know, because obviously the runs are gonna take longer here, but yeah, we'll see. The shrines in SR have been redesigned with powerful new but temporary blessings, all of which boost also your maximum movement speed for the duration. This is something we also didn't have in the game before, very nice. These blessings can no longer carry any penalties. Shrine offerings have been updated. Okay, so, I mean, old shrines were pretty much never used really for farming, and new shrines maybe will be. I hope so, at least. Either way, I think that's a good change. Increased drop chance of shattered souls from champion enemies. Okay, so running as R should on average be quicker and easier. Increased monster % crit damage by 5% ultimate difficulty. This is probably to make those low DA builds suffer a bit more and to incentivize trying to get more than 2k DA again, I guess. I think good change, good change. Increased monster health scaling on normal and elite difficulties. Yeah, I guess to make it harder to like farm the stuff on normal and elite. The A Done Deal achievement now requires you to interact with each of the Shadow Realms shrines at least once, rather than having all 5 effects active at the same time. Oh yeah, this was just like a Steam achievement, right? This was really annoying, and now it's easier to get, for sure. Yo, City Solar Star, welcome on, welcome on. Now my usual goal to have most spells go for 75 to 76, might have to change. I mean, maybe not. As I said, like maybe 75 to 76 is gonna stay the way to farm anyway. Waves 150 to 170 now have 6 mutators, as a positive player mutator is now always rolled for the 5th mutator. Okay, so... Oh yeah, mutators in general never have penalties anymore, right? You always have positives for the monsters, so the monsters get stronger, or positives for the player, so the player actually gets stronger. There is no more you lose stats stuff that doesn't exist anymore. There's no more negative stuff for players at all anymore in the entire game. Tribute cap has been increased to 150. Increased monster crit damage by 5%, similar to SR here. Again, to like make low DA builds get punished a bit more. And nullification has actually been re-added to the Crucible at reduced duration. All of them except for like Noxmere have Nullify in the Crucible now as well. But I mean, Nullify, you know, is in its kind of like nerfed state, so I think playable. It's not like that crazy. Also, this tribute increase is probably in preparation for Fangs of Aztekarn as well, where they've said that they're gonna increase the amount of waves all the way to 200, so you're gonna have like 200 waves at some point in the future in the Crucible. But it's like, I don't know, like far into next year. There's gonna be like some tools for modding to make modding better, like enabling a bigger, or like rather increasing a map size limit from 2 to 4 gigabytes. This means that, for example, in future seasons, we can again have all the maps, like all the regions in one map instead of like in 2 or 3 maps. Very nice here. More faction slots. Console now logs lure errors in custom games. Yeah, I wish it finally did this. At least for me, this was still bugged. I don't know. But yeah, this was a Grim Eternals feature. But if you're a modder, then without this, like modding was pain, and Grim Eternals is not getting updated anymore, so they're at least giving us this feature post haste, I presume. So that's gonna enable modding properly again. And then they said they wanna like update some of the textures of the game, and they've started apparently with the rock textures. And I have noticed them actually looking a lot better, like around Act 1 and 2 and so on, so that's pretty nice. But is R90 to 91 becomes worth it for those who enjoy going up there? Well, yeah, I guess so, yeah. No, what do you mean? Your rocks? Huh? But they're more beautiful now. Yep, rock. Yep, rock. You can now select your desired main menu theme in the game options. That's pretty cool. Which means also that you can actually have custom main menu themes there as well. In mods at least. With a certain way, like if you put it into like base mods. New monster mechanic has been added, Sundered. Yeah, monsters can sunder you and your defenses now. Sunder is a debuff that just makes you take multiplicative damage, and you have no way to defend against that, except for A, not getting hit by the ability that applies Sundered on you, or B, nullifying the Sunder, or C, just running around in circles and disengaging while you are sundered. So yeah, it does make the gameplay a bit more tactical, you could say. It also makes a devotion like Ulo a lot better, that is true, that is true. Alongside the Sunder mechanic, I think generally enemies, here, monster abilities no longer apply % resistance reduction and flat resistance reduction. There is still -% resistance reduction, I think, on like some unique monster debuffs. But this doesn't really exist anymore. So overcap on average, it's still gonna be a thing, but it's gonna be less important than before, and instead you're gonna have more monsters sundering you. So it's kind of like a... Well, this is mostly introduced to make, like, for example, certain celestial bosses harder, and not have them be, well, just overcapped by X amount and then it's easy kind of thing, right? Yo, Shazba, welcome. Another way to make defensive ability more important, again, is this change right here. Reduce minimum chance to hit to 55% from 60%. So you can get more DA, like you can stack more DA again to get down to 55% chance to be hit instead of 60% chance to be hit. Just another like incentive here for you to actually value defensive ability again. Challenge areas have their loot quality and difficulty increased. Okay. This is what I mentioned earlier, right? All mutators no longer have negative effects. Many mutators have been redesigned. Monster mutators that granted resistances no longer do so. Positive player mutators are now always rolled for the 2nd and 5th mutators. So you can have up to 6, and then the 2nd you get is always for players, and the 5th one is also for players always. And those are always positive, so they actually make those areas easier than harder. Ravager hit your 24,000 HP vitality constitution yesterday for 20k when you were sundered and had his debuff. That was kind of scary shit. Yeah, Ravager is gonna be harder on this patch, for sure. Maybe not for pet builds, because actually his bonus damage to pets has been removed. So I guess pet players rejoice. Pets are getting buffed once again. Classic. But also overall monster physical damage and ultimate difficulty has been slightly reduced, so maybe getting that armor and Physiras is not quite as important as it already is. I mean, it's still going to be important, but maybe like a little bit less important. Hero monster archetypes like Burning, Swift, etc. have had their special abilities updated / buffed. The most dangerous hero archetypes now have more prominent visuals to distinguish their presence. They would have like a big fat icon above their head actually, which looks arguably like almost too big for Grim Dawn, but you will definitely notice when you're fighting a special hero now. Bounty hero monsters that use a hero archetype now correctly include their archetype in their name. Many vanilla Grim Dawn monsters have received a bump to their various abilities to bring them up to speed to modern standards. Okay, so vanilla game slightly harder. I don't mind that, it's easy as fuck anyway. Many monster special attacks have had their animation speeds reduced. This will especially affect attacks that apply, for example, Sunder, so you will have an easier time to know when they do their animation, and you will have an easier time to react to that by either using the evade, or sidestepping, or just, I don't know, like teleporting away, disengaging, whatever, right? Monsters with charge abilities are now significantly slower when charging. I feel like they over-nerfed this a little bit, like when I noticed like monsters charging, this was kind of a joke, you can just like walk away now, kinda, it's a little bit weird, but yeah. Generally I think this is okay, but maybe like the number nerf was too much. Increased monster % leech resistance. This makes leech, attack damage converted to health, aka lifesteal, less effective. On ultimate difficulty, this is roughly a 30% reduction against an average boss. Defensive / healing abilities and devotions have received a buff to compensate for this change. So yeah, generally a nerf to leech in this patch, and I think there was a slight buff to regen somewhere else. So on average, like regen is going to be a bit more important, and like healing is going to be a bit more important. But generally, also at the same time, leech, like lifesteal, is less important. % damage reduction debuffs effect no longer reduces the intensity of other debuffs. Yeah, this kind of always felt like a bug. Like if an enemy had % damage reduction, and you used, for example, Warcry first, then your damage reduction would reduce the enemy's damage reduction, and thus you would take less damage reduction debuff, and thus you would deal more damage because you reduced the enemy damage reduction debuff with your own damage reduction. And the other way around, if the enemy used the ability first before you, for example, use the war cry, then your war cry would be less effective and not reducing the damage of the enemy by as much as it should be. So this is no longer the case. Now damage reduction just always works and does not reduce debuffs anymore. And that's a good change. TLDR, this change makes the game less confusing. Makes the game harder in a way, in certain situations though, where before you could just use a damage reduction debuff to like make debuffs from enemies kind of like a joke. I think the problem right now, I don't know if they fixed that already, is when you are being sundered, debuffs are more effective on you. And there were pictures on the Discord of, for example, Morganath applying because of sundering you and then applying damage reduction on you, having like numbers like 111% damage reduction on you, so you deal like literally no damage. Yeah, they might have to do the same like stuff for Sunder as well, right? But that's, I'm pretty sure, gonna be fixed until I release of this actual patch. Until the actual release, right? Wendigo type monsters have had their zoomies reined in and no longer approach you at the speed of sound. Monster health now scales more appropriate in multiplayer. Mutators that affect monster health are now more clear as to how much % health they provide. I assume and hope this means they will have more health, because multiplayer was kinda easy. I don't know. I don't really play multiplayer though. Remove defense against pets from celestial bosses and reduce their damage bonus against them. So yeah, pet players are gonna finally be able to just face roll Kalagadra, I guess. And Ravager as well. So yeah, I guess just play pets. Triple the rate of infamy gain with outcast faction when choosing to be hostile. Makes sense. Double the rate of infamy fame gained with comments chosen in order of the Death's Vigil. Makes sense. For those of you that don't know, we've also changed these rates in the Grim Dawn community season, and we changed them for all the factions, and I think that the way we changed them actually made sense and made like progression-wise especially sense, as in you usually had the required like reputation when you also were able to use the items that those factions provided you. This is like at least a good change for those two factions, but the other factions still have the problem that by the time you are like honored or something, or respected or whatever, you've like vastly outleveled the gear that they provide already anyway. So yeah, they should maybe like increase the rate for other factions as well a little bit, in my opinion. Anyway, pets now default to an aggressive stance rather than normal stance. Good change as well. Very good change. Imagine being level 90 and then unlocking level 50 gear. Yeah, that's kind of what happened, right? The nerf to leech makes leech more important, not less. I mean, it makes getting more leech more important. It makes leech itself as a mechanic less powerful. Yeah. That is, I guess, what we mean here. I'll read this general itemization stuff first, then probably go down to the classes and then read the more specific itemization. Pet build is chill. Yeah, it's pretty chill if you like pets. I hate pets. I don't hate pets because they're bad or anything. They're actually good. I just hate pets because they're like a playstyle where you rely on the AI of pets to do what you should be doing, aka damage. And pet AI in ARPGs is usually garbage. I mean, it's okay in Grim Dawn compared to other RPGs, but you can't control a pet like you can like control like a unit in an RTS game, you know, so it's kinda eh. Itemization, increased range of all movement skills granted by runes. Okay, so runes have more movement skill, more range rather, pretty nice. This is probably also to like distinguish movement skills from evade skills, right? Like movement is supposed to be used for movement and evade is supposed to be used for evade. Obviously you could also use movement to evade stuff, but yeah, that's another topic. Max sell price has been reduced, iron bit rates have been increased, so you don't have to like mass sell greens as badly anymore as you used to have. So it's a nice change in my opinion. further increased loop drop weights for affixes that match the base game's item damage type. So yeah, they basically like increased the weighting on smart loot in a way. If you have a fire monster frequent, you're gonna be even more likely to get a fire affix on this one. Pretty nice, pretty nice. At least nice if you can reroll affixes for like off-meta builds like you can in the Grim Dawn Community League, right? Not playing pets is racist? Okay, dude. Pet HP should scale off the player, then hybrid aura pets would be nice. Yeah, hybrid pet builds kinda suck, that's true. They could come up with like some ways to make hybrid pet builds better in this game, I don't know. It's definitely not... It's far from perfect, let's say it like that. All rare, let's go here. Tonic of Clarity and Tonic of Reshaping no longer drop as loot. Instead, you can craft them at Celestial Smiths. These Celestial Smiths are, in case you don't know, the ones where you can gamble for legendary items. So, for example, the one in Mammoth, in Steelcap District, and the one Tomb, right? That one, and then the other one, I think, in Tomb of Zethan, somewhere in Forgotten Gods. So there you can craft these tonics, like the respec potions now. Craft consumables have been removed from the pool and are now only available via crafting. This is, for example, like Hoarfrost Ointment and so on, right? You can only craft these can no longer drop. This might be in preparation for like Fangs of Astakar and some change that they want to do there as well. We'll see. All rare mastery and mastery combination prefixes have been redesigned with fixed skill bonuses rather than with winning the skill bonus lottery. So yeah, if you have like an Inquisitor's prefix or like rather a Deceiver's prefix, instead of being able to like roll 1 out of like 20 different skills, you can only like roll 1 skill now, I think. So you can like plan a bit better around these affixes now. What happens if Item Assistant doesn't support the expansion? I don't know, then you would have to ask the guy who makes the Item Assistant what happens. I have no clue. Magic Mastery prefixes have been removed from the loot pool. New items will no longer roll them. Instead, casted weapons and offhands can now roll % offensive ability, % defensive ability, and % spirit prefixes. Okay. That's cool, I guess. Also, like, you know, reducing the loot affix clutter. It's pretty nice. % resistance magic prefixes that offer 2 or 3 elemental resistances, like fire and cold, have been removed from the loot pool at 70+, increase the chance of rolling % elemental resistances to compensate. Good change in my opinion, also to like reduce clutter, like with loot, with affix tables and so on. Reduce resistance prefixes that offer % pierce or % poison with a combination of 1 elemental resistance like pierce and cold have been removed from the loot pool at 70+. And then instead it has been increased the chance to roll the pierce plus poison resistance pair to compensate. Which is really strong actually. I mean, not really strong, but it's pretty strong for a magic one at least. You forgot there is no hunter location with all factions outside of the season? Yep, that's true. Yeah, that's true. I do not recommend you to play 1.2 right now on the season mod. It doesn't work. Like this mod, like this change, this patch is breaking the mod basically, because there's so many like changes on a like engine level as well that it just breaks the mod right now. We will obviously have season 6 be updated for this patch. It will work on this patch. We will have it all adjusted to this patch. Not sure if we're gonna have a season 5 version for 1.2 though, because it might just be like, or like it is. From what I've seen and what I've worked on right now already, it is quite a lot of work to like change the season mod to work on this patch, so we'll probably just do it for season 6 and probably leave season 5 to be playable with 1198, which you will be able to play even when 1.0 is out officially. You can then still downgrade to 1198 and play, for example, season 5 on 1198. Yeah, I should maybe like write playtest update out, not official update out. Since too many people are asking and I'm baiting people left and right, I'm sorry. Since OFF now has built-in freeze rest reduction, will I nerf season OFF MIs? Yes, I will have to. Do you know if we, obviously not during the season, can import past season characters into current season mods? I think so. Yeah, that should work. Doc leave. Oh no. Energy regeneration suffixes can no longer drop. Magic, Prefix, Adamant, and Staunch have their shield damage blocked increased. I mean, shield block is kind of a meme generally. There are some shield block builds that work, but generally it's kind of a meme. So anything that supports shield block is a little underwhelming and needs a buff, and this is a good buff in the right direction. Bloodletter has Chaos Rest now, Arcane Blaze has % Spirit, Cabal on offense has Health, Celestial Wrath has % Spirit, Corruption has % Poison Duration, Frostburn Duration and Death's Chill, Fallen Skies has Spirit, Flamecore has % Burn Duration, Growth has more Regen, Health Regen, Mortality has increased Health Regen now, Nature's Bounty has more Regen on levels 82+, Return Resilience has increased Regen, Shadow Reality has more Health, on offense, Solar's Menace on offense has more bit damage duration, Soul Warding has +2 to Bone Harvest now, 200 Souls has % cast speed, and Voidfire now has % cast speed. I mean, sure. A bit more like power creep, but I guess that's fine. These aren't like super crazy affixes anyway for the most part. So they're fine, like getting some minor buffs. Okay, before we look at the actual items, I think I'm just gonna scroll down to some more generic stuff, which is devotions and masteries. So, classes and skills, toggle buffs no longer have an energy upkeep, some energy regeneration devotions have had their energy regeneration reduced, and various mastery abilities had their energy costs increased to compensate. Behemoth increased health regen, Candle reduced energy regen, Deride reduced energy regen, Ghoul increased health regen, Harpy reduce energy regen. So generally, like you can see a theme, right? They buff health regen, they have nerfed Leech globally by making enemies have more life reach resistance, and they're reducing energy regen, but target buffs no longer have energy upkeep, and so you kind of like need less regen in a way as well. Am I gonna play some Grim Dawn today? Yes. Yes. So yeah. Same on Harvestman's side, Red increased health regen, Hyrian increased shield damage blocked, Light Empyrean increased % health, 20%, that's kinda high, Lizard increased health regen, Mantids reduced energy regen, Raven reduced energy regen, Scales of Volcama reduced energy regen but increased health regen, Scarab increased health shield block, Tree of Life increased regen, Wire increased shield block, Arcane Barrier increased absorption with rank, okay, is that Crab? Cleansing Waters increased radius to 3.5. Deride's Blessing increased health regen with rank. Ghoulish Hunger increased % healing and added % cast speed. Giant's Blood increased duration and health regen. Healing Ray increased regen and regen. Inspiration increased DA. Okay. Phoenix Fire increased absorption. Shield Wall increased % armor. These absorption skills getting more absorption is actually kind of crazy. Like Phoenix Fire is kind of good already. Then more armor on Wayward Soul and Ulzard, okay. By the way, I'm gonna start a solo Sapphire fresh start playthrough after this on the 1.2 patch, mostly just to like, well, like, get a feel for the availability, like how it feels like while just playing the game. But might as well like do a, you know, like a solo Sapphire guide at the same time. So if you guys would like to see a specific build, you can, well, write whatever you would like to see in chat right now, I guess. I'm thinking of playing a Nightblade. I would probably play a Reaper. Just like a code, like Markodar's Reaper. Because I kind of want to play melee to check out the dodge ability a bit better, like how it works in melee. But maybe you guys want to see something else, and I can maybe adjust to what you like to see. Saboteur? Pets, obviously. Yikes. Blackwater Cocktail Saboteur. Bagel Sabo. Oof. Okay, let's check out the soldier the masteries until then. Okay, daily momentum, increased durations. So they're buffing like the duration and all these like damage granting buffs all across the board, which is very, very nice as well. So daily momentum is getting buffed. Fighting spirit has reduced cooldown and duration. Is that a buff or? I guess it's a buff, actually, because it's gonna be like up more often and the cooldown is like going down when you're out of combat. I would argue this is generally rather a buff than a nerf. Force wave increased the physical damage scaling with rank. Rending force increased physical damage scaling with rank. So the reason why they're buffing base force wave is because they're nerfing the cleaver, the wall cleaver. So I guess it's like a fair trade-off. Markovi's advantage increased percent weapon damage by 15%. They're also like buffing all weapon pool skills by like 10 to 15% on average. It's pretty nice. It's a buff, better uptime. I mean, the uptime is still the same, right? But it procs more often, so you have like the burst up more often. The average uptime is the same, but like the uptime when you are actually fighting in combat is gonna be better, yeah. So that's a buff. Menhir's Bulwark increased regen, makes sense with the rest of the patch. Menhir's Wall increased percent heal and regen, yeah, makes sense. Overguard increased shield damage blocked and base regen, increased energy cost scaling with rank, makes sense. Markovin's is advantage, I mean, well, no, Markovin's defense reduced percent modifier damage penalty to minus 10% instead of, what was it, like 15 or 12%? Pretty nice, really nice. Yo, Magnifer. 26 out of 16. Why not 28? Zolan's technique increased percent weapon damage by 20%. Okay, veterancy increased regen. Okay, cool. Flashbang increased energy cost scaling with rank. Okay, I guess. Mortar Trap reduced cooldown to 2.5. So you can get like zero cooldown Mortar Trap very, very easily now, actually. This is kind of crazy. It seems a bit OP to me on paper. I don't know how actually OP it's gonna be like, but like burn damage stacking Mortar Traps is gonna be kind of crazy, I think. Temper increased DA scaling to 120. 220 by max ultimate rank. Okay, more DA. Vindictive Flame. What? Fuck off. Vindictive Flame, more regen. Occultist, Blood Reek, reduced cooldown to 12 seconds. Increased duration to 60 seconds. So yeah, for those of you who hate pressing this button, you still have to press the button, but not as often as you used to have. I think it's the same for Inquisitor's Word of Renewal down here. Yep. Nice. More regen here as well. Focused gaze, increased physical damage reduction duration to 6 seconds. That's the one from Drigzil Eye. I mean, sure, whatever. Increased percent absorption scaling to 18% and 25% by max ultimate rank. So this class finally has a proper absorption skill now, eh? Very nice, very nice. They changed Whirlwind to be permanent. Wind Devils. No, they didn't do that. I still think they should just add like a transmuter to Wind Devil to like reduce the amount of Wind Devils, but to have it permanent instead. And I've been saying this since like 2 years or 3. They've still not done it. I might just mod it maybe for some season at some point, we'll see. Nightblade. So Nightblade has animations sped up for pretty much all of its weapon pool skills. Also increased cold damage scaling for ABB. So ABB buff, lethal assault, duration buff. That's even longer than Belgos, than Deadly Momentus rather. So pretty nice. I like this change. AQC increased base weapon damage, Belgo Shears increased animation speed and base weapon damage, very nice. Blade Trap added trap resistance reduction, scaling with rank up to minus 40% by rank 12. So, Blade Trap OFF used to be amazing versus trash and useless versus everything else. Now with these skills having base trap / freeze resistance reduction in the skill, they will become at least more useful now already by themselves without items. Of course, for like the actual endgame, you probably still want to get, for example, Rhyme Tongue set, or like a Mage Slayer set, but this at least will make the skill feel a bit less useless without items, so that's a nice change. I like it. But we have Codex of Eternal Storms. Anyway, Execution also has higher damage. Pneumatic Burst, increased duration to 60 seconds, just like Blood of Dreeg and so on, right? Breath of Bergothian, increased regen. Whirling Death, increased weapon damage, very nice. Arcane Will, increased DA, makes sense. Up to 500 by ultimate max rank, holy shit. You can get 500 DA by proccing Arcane Will. It's pretty high, not gonna lie, that's pretty high. But it's still only DA, right? Iskander's Elemental Exchange reduced energy regen scaling with rank to 60% at 95 by max ultimate rank. I mean, sure, whatever. Mirror, increased energy cost scaling with rank, makes sense. Notification, reduced cooldown scaling. I mean, yeah, the best skill in the game is getting nerfed, what a surprise. But Extra's Flash Freeze has the same treatment as Blade Trap, with the minus resistance reduction on there as well. Very nice. Wrath of Agrivix, increased percent damage modified bonus to 180% and added 40% weapon damage bonus. Yeah, this was kind of underwhelming since the Kaedra's Tempest remake, which made the base CT really, really nice, but the cooldown version kind of meh. So this is a good change, I guess. Shaman, buff to the pet Conjurer Primal Spirit. No, all attacks are base physical instead of pierce, so it's way easier to like convert them to other damage types as well. Feral Hunger, increased percent weapon damage by 20%, this is the weapon pool skill. Increased regen and increased regen on Mogdog's Pact and Heart of the Wild. Upheaval, increased base weapon damage. Wendigo Totem, increased base heal to 3% and increased energy cost scaling with rank, makes sense. Inquisitor, Bursting Round, Chilling Rounds and Storm Spread all have like their base weapon damage increased, and furthermore Storm Spread has its electrocute damage also increased. The Null Field on the Inquisitor 3, that's from the Inquisitor Seal, now I believe has less cooldown and like less energy cost for two-handed. Before it was some weird thing where like you sacrificed attack speed and casting speed for projectile dodge, which like literally nobody ever used pretty much, so this is kind of more like the transmitter on Bird of Renewal now instead, which on paper is more boring, but it's more useful in practice. Bird of Renewal, increased energy cost and heal scaling with rank, increased percent heal scaling at ultimate ranks. Yeah, like a buff and duration buff as well. Necromancer, Call of the Grave, costs more energy. Decay, added +1 duration to Ravenous Earth. This is actually a huge buff to RE. This is actually insane. I don't know why this is even needed, but yeah, it's pretty insane, honestly. Maybe they added it here so they can like remove it and not some items. Not sure. Mark of Torment, increased energy cost scaling with rank, duration and cooldown are now fixed by at 5 and 12 seconds respectively. Damage absorption now starts at 10% and scales up to 30 by rank 10, 45 or max ultimate rank. So basically this one has way lower cooldown now, but also absorbs a lot less. And I'm not sure if I'm the biggest fan of that. It seems like a big nerf and a little weird. I didn't think this needed a big change. However, the scaling at least is okay now, and you don't just stop at 6 points now. So it makes sense to like change the scaling. Not sure if like the duration and cooldown nerf was needed, but that's okay, I guess. The +1 duration on items is gone now. Okay, makes sense. Yeah, then this change makes total sense. Soul Harvest, increased duration to 8 seconds, just like the ABB buff. Lethal Assault, so very nice. Raised Skeletons have finally more health. Finally. Will of the Crypt, this is a Raised Skeleton modifier, increases their base armor by more now. Reap Spirit has vitality damage on top now. And Reaping Strike, the weapon pool skill, has more weapon damage, all in line with the other buffs. Oathkeeper Ascension costs more energy. Avenging Shield, increased bounce range. That might be actually pretty nice. So like, you have a smaller chance of the shield not bouncing, Pretty nice. Smite, higher weapon damage. Shattering Smash, higher weapon damage. Virus Smite, increased travel distance. And bleed scaling. Okay, so a couple of buffs there as well. What's happening? Okay. Okay, not sure if I should read all the items as well, honestly. I might just postpone that to when the patch actually comes out. I think we all like kind of like got the gist of this patch. This is just like fine-tuning and like stuff here and there. I'll probably like read this stuff more in detail when the patch actually releases. So yeah, I'll stop here, I think, and just play the game instead.